Hello everybody, Danny TCV, TheCriminalViolin here. Welcome back to CHATTERBOX. This time it's episode 11, and it's starting to get to that point with anything that I do, and it's ending up about once every month to once every month and a half or so that another episode gets produced of this podcast, as with most series on my channel. But that is just me. It's kind of my natural flow, as you hear me sweeping things like dandruff and other crumbs off my desk. Exciting things. So as of today, what we're going to be talking about, and of course I am, as always, fashionably late to a topic as usual. But today we are going to be talking about MCU, that's Marvel Cinematic Universe, and its Phase 4 plans. And if you haven't already seen some of my other things I've spoken about, especially when it comes down to the Stranger Things, which is the last episode, episode 10 of Chatterbox Season 3, and also speaking about Doctor Who and the 13th Doctor and Chinballs. Yes, I know his name is Chibnall. People always seem to get irked by me calling him not Chibnall, is his actual name, but Chinballs, which is intentional. Just like I call Stephen Moffat, or Moffat, however the heck you want to say his last name, as Muffin. He's Mr. Muffin with me, okay? Understand this. Anyway, if you've seen either of those two things, then by now you probably can get a decent guess at what I'm probably about to be getting at with my main irks for MCU Phase 4. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of course, owned by Disney World / ESPN / ABC / because they're the biggest media conglomerate in the world, they are going in a direction that is very predictable for a modern-day megacorp these days, especially when it comes down to media productions and film and TV and all that good stuff, because, as we all know, they're all starting to get very biased to that of the internet dwellers, as I like to call them. Everybody else who usually calls them the SJWs and all that, social justice warriors, keyboard warriors, what have you. And as a result, that's where MCU Phase 4 is going. MCU Phase 4 is looking basically everything is woman. Everything is female. Every role is now female. Every focus is now female. Everything is now going to be about female politics and female political correctness and all this other stuff. And even as somebody who is a self-proclaimed feminist, I have to admit, this is crossing a massively obvious line. Like, I say massively obvious because it should be obvious that they see that in front of them, and obviously they're making the cognitive choice by looking at it and saying, you know, I feel like we should cross this massive line. Let's do that. Let's push ourselves way too far. And that's exactly what they've done. That's exactly what they've now fully committed to with Phase 4. They've gone from being good and okay and great and all that for finding a balance, and now instead of going for the whole equality and balance thing, they're shoving it off a cliff and saying, we're going to go all woman, all female, and all this political correctness that a lot of these women that call themselves feminists are not actually. Because being a feminist is strictly looking for the equality of the genders. So looking for full equality across the board for women to be equal to men, whether it's pay, rights, literally anything. That's what it's all about, which is why I personally identify myself as a feminist. I'm an actual, by definition, feminist, not what by perception, which is what everybody sees feminists as just about these days, which are what people call the third wave feminists, which are, they need a more proper name, but they're basically all these women that are just like what I call reverse male chauvinists. They're just trying to, they're still chauvinists, obviously, but if you want to have to apply a feminine term to it, I guess, or what do you call it, addition of that word, then it would be whatever that would be. I think, if I recall correctly, there is supposedly one of those out there for that, but they're chauvinists. So basically, instead of patriarchy, they're all for matriarchy. So instead, everything's dominated by women, everything's controlled by women, and women are this, women are that, and they're putting themselves all the way up on a pedestal above guys, and guys are down in the pits in this garbage dump, and they're way up on this pedestal that's just glowing and has spotlights all over it and shimmering with glitter, and they're like, yes, we are superior. It's like, that's not what feminism is. You're just doing exactly what you say you despise, you're doing yourself. And that's what so many modern day self-proclaimed feminists are. Just know, every time somebody says that that's feminist or anything that shows that there's a superiority complex going on or arrogance with that, it's not feminism. But, of course, this isn't the topic at hand, but I wanted to point that out because that's what people seem to associate as feminism. And so that's what MCU, that's what Disney is doing with the Marvel Universe when it comes to Phase 4. They're going and playing bias to that group of people because they hold the most vocal majority. They hold the most power. They hold the most control right now over media, over what's popular, not popular, over what's considered okay and not okay, etc., etc. This is the line that was blatantly obvious that Disney's like, let's fucking cross that line and let's go way into that territory with Phase 4. And that's exactly what they're doing. And to be completely honest with you, and my brother put this simply, but it's 100% true, and that is that no doubt if there would have been a deal struck between Sony and Disney for Spiderman to continue the whole thing and integration to the Marvel Universe, the problem would have been, especially in Phase 4, what they almost guaranteed would have done is they would have suddenly, at some point, if not in the next film, suddenly made him apologize for supposedly being too masculine or having too much toxic masculinity or whatever, insert bullshit here, which of course is totally crap and it's just ridiculous. That's basically what they're doing. And then they probably would decide they have to mandatorily make Miles become Peter Parker, either that or somehow integrate them both and then say, oh yeah, by the way, Peter Parker's black now and female because we got to be politically correct and fit this trash fire that is the internet majority of people these days. And probably, and make him vegan, of course. Like, it's just absolutely obscene. It screams that Disney's copying what the BBC's doing with Doctor Who, which I call killing it completely off, which is the honest truth, but what they call doing the right thing, sending the right message, doing the right thing and sending the right messages to the young children who watch our movies so that they can learn how to be us. I mean, a clone. I mean, do what we say. I mean, be a good person. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. That's why it just crosses that line. It's way too far. Like, it's so easy to do that, but it's near impossible to accidentally cross the massive swath of territory that line is and has to its name without noticing you're doing it. Like, you have to cognitively make that choice to cross that line just because you'd rather be PC than not. I mentioned this, maybe even in both, but either Doctor Who or... Actually, no, I think it was the hypersensitivity episode of this podcast, or it was the information overload. But I mentioned Ricky Gervais and Dave Chappelle, and I specifically kept emphasizing Dave Chappelle. His entire career is being what is now considered politically incorrect. He's just being bluntly honest with you. He doesn't give a fuck what you think. He doesn't give a fuck if you think he's funny or not. He's gonna be himself. He's gonna be genuine. He's gonna be authentic, and he's gonna tell you just like it is. He's gonna tell you just how he feels, just what he thinks, while making it amusing for those of us that are not hypersensitive nitwits and internet dwellers. I mentioned that, and the reason why I mentioned him again now is because, as I'm speaking about this, he recently released another Netflix special. And the immediate response was the internet-dwelling SJWs got all up in arms and pissed at him and were telling him how wrong he was and how evil he was, and basically they were just trashing his special because it was horrible. In other words, you didn't agree with us, so you're a horrible human being and your special was atrocious. It wasn't even remotely funny. You were just wrong. It's like, good for you. Way to be fucking predictable, you dipshits. It's like, If you want people to I don't know, have an open mind with you, don't be a jackass about it. Don't be so fucking forceful and be like, we're fucking right. And you fucking know it. And if you don't know it, well, then you're just fucking stupid. And go fuck yourself. And we're gonna fucking boycott you, aka cancel culture. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You're angry all the fucking time about this shit. Just let it go. And as a result, that's exactly it. They're angry. They're so intensely angry all the time. And they're so hypersensitive. And they are so audacious that you know for a fact that they would have no problem going for a megacorp and going for a massive lawsuit against them, or somehow doing that, or just counseling and avoiding anything they do until they submit to whatever the demands are from this SJW crowd and start doing exactly as they tell them to write. Just say the jokes they're supposed to say things in a way or in a tone and have the body language that only they approve of, because then it's actually politically correct. And just everything has to be politically correct. Everything has to match their mindset. Everything has to match their beliefs. Everything has to be such a way. This, and that. And it can't be this, because then that's just wrong and you're a horrible being. And we're going to have to keep protesting until you do what we say. Because all you want is money, so we're just going to never touch your things until you give us what we fucking want. And it's like, fuck you. Who cares if they don't do something that agrees with whatever you believe? Like, let it go. Who cares if you don't personally like it? If you don't personally like a movie, then avoid the movie. Don't watch it again. Or if you're in the middle of the movie and decide that you don't like this and you don't like the message it's putting, then instead of trying to counsel the company or the writer or the actors or whatever, or the studio, just let it go, walk out of the theater, and never think about it or touch or associate it with that movie ever again. It's that fucking simple. It's literally that simple. Just make the adult, calm, mature decision to, instead of trying to counsel somebody or a studio or boycott them or stand in protest or get all vocal and bitter and hypersensitive about it and react to it, don't react. Pull yourself away from that so you don't have to add that stress to your life of being all angry and upset and offended, and instead just be like, I don't fucking like the message of this movie, and I don't like this movie or this series or the show, so I'm gonna make the conscious, mature, calm, and common sense decision to just simply walk out of the theater and stop watching, or stop watching this on Netflix or Hulu or whatever you're doing. Like, that's literally as simple as it is. And then all you have to do is never think about it, never associate with that movie again. Just avoid it. It's great because it's that simple. It takes but a few seconds at max, and you've already cured yourself of any potential stress. You're just not going to touch it because you don't like it. It's that simple. It's like with food. If you don't like a food, then obviously you're not going to ever order it again, or you're not ever going to make it again. You're not ever going to eat it again because you don't fucking like it. It's literally that simple. It's just comes down to one simple decision, one simple choice. In this case, you walk away from whatever it is and you just ignore it. That's it. But people don't want to do that. No, they want to be all loud about it and make it instead fit their agenda, fit their beliefs, fit their perspective, fit how they see the world and everything else in situations. And it's like, dude, you're not the writer, so you can go fuck yourself. Simple as that, you know? And I did kind of mention that near the latter end of the last episode of Chatterbox too, when I was talking about kind of just how showrunning is supposed to work, how screenwriters and directors and producers are supposed to work, and studios. It's just like, you know what? Great. You obviously have a concept for what kind of show or series or movie or whatever it is you want to watch. So please, by all means, submit that to another studio that wants to keep being PC. Like, oh, I don't know, how about Marvel? How about anything Disney, because that's clearly what they're doing. And if you refuse to do that because you just want, for some reason, to have us do it, well, we're not going to submit to you. We're never going to give you what you want. We're going to keep doing what, obviously we've always envisioned for this. And obviously you don't like that. So go leave us alone. Go fuck yourself. Or, better yet, go make your millions by making a deal with Disney or some other PC organization. that would be more than thrilled to probably take on your concept. As simple as that. Like, and that's what I basically said in that last episode with Stranger Things Season 3 near the end. That's how show running is supposed to work. Like, the fan isn't running the show. They aren't the screenwriter. They aren't the director. They aren't the producer. They're just somebody outside. And obviously, they're not a fan if they hate the show. Or they hate the message it gives. Or they hate a character because it's too masculine. Or it's too feminine. Or it's too cliche. Good for you. Good for you. But you have nothing to do with the show. So go fuck yourself. That's how it's supposed to be. And instead, obviously we have the money making being biased to the main crowd that's the most vocal. That's like I said before this little spiel, the biggest reason behind why they're so biased to the SJWs of the internet is in the hypersensitive nitwits is because of the fact that they know they're also doubly the biggest threat to their entire franchise of whatever they're making, their movie, their organization, the people they work with, everything. They are the single biggest threat, and thus also to, of course, their reputation and their revenue. The last thing they want is to get constant bad reviews, constant bad raps, constant hatred, and go down and start plummeting in sales and everything else and relevance because of the fact that they aren't appeasing this audience base, giving them exactly what they want, which isn't how anything works. It's not how the world fucking works, but they're happy to do it anyway and defy how the world works, how life works. And it's damn aggravating, but here they are doing it. And MCU, so Disney, specifically with the MCU Phase 4, that's exactly what Phase 4 is all about. Being as PC as possible and appeasing that threat, which is that main hypersensitive SJW internet-dwelling audience base that they have accrued. And it's really fucking frustrating. Like, it's so annoying because you have an example, again with Disney, you have the exact same people who are crying, oh, it's just whitewashing. It's just a white person typically being a typical white male who's upset that your historically white female character has became a black female. So obviously in this case we're referencing Little Mermaid because Ariel no longer is going to be a white, red-haired, blue-eyed woman, which she always has been throughout the stories and everything. So that's how she should always be. No, they're going to go PC and say, well, we got to make her a black woman now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they suddenly decided, and they had the bombshell in it when they premiere it, oh, by the way, she's also gay. For anybody who gets angry at me, it's like, that's lesbian, not gay. No, it's gay. Being lesbian is being gay, but it's in a chauvinist, patriarchal terminology because it's gender-specific version of saying gay is saying you're lesbian. If you're lesbian, you're gay. You want your gender neutrality, your gender fluidity, and crush the patriarchy, then stop using the term lesbian altogether. Just say you're gay. Simple as that. Because that's exactly what you are. Okay? Got that down? Okay, great. So, you can still be mad, just remember, at this point, it's a go fuck yourself situation. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Although then again, I don't know if the Little Mermaid live action thing already came out, no pun intended there, but or not. I have no clue. But I would not be surprised if that's the case. But either way, they changed her from what she's always been, which was again a red-haired, white, blue-eyed female, to a black-haired, obviously black woman, probably brown-eyed woman instead, just to appease that hypersensitive audience be PC. The reason why I point that out is because of the fact that, again, the same exact hypersensitive majority of people out there that Disney obviously sees as a threat, and that's why they're being 100% PC and following exactly their direction and exactly what they want to see and hear. These are the same people that are like, oh, it's just, the white people. There's only white people that are upset about that, obviously, because they're the only ones who'd be upset about this change. Because they're not still a white, blue-haired, red-haired, Northern European white woman. So therefore, obviously, they're mad because they're fucking racist, right? Same people. that are like that and saying that about The Little Mermaid, you know for a fact if they took a black female character, like, or an Indian in this case, female character, like Jasmine from Aladdin, and they decided she's going to be played by an Asian woman, or they took the Mulan woman and they made her into a white woman. You know, the main character Mulan, and turned her into a white woman. You know for a fact they would be so fucking offended and so deeply insulted, and they would literally try to counsel that studio, because they've done it a lot before, until they get what they want and they put it back to the exact characteristics of the main character of Mulan's always been. Same with Jasmine and everything else. They want it to stay the same. Suddenly, they're on the other side of the fence. Now they have to have it the same. Oh, but no, it's not racist. Oh no, it's not any of the things that it is if it's a white, red-haired, blue-eyed female that's known as Ariel and Little Mermaid turning into a black, brown-eyed, black-haired woman. No, that's racism if you don't like that. But if it's Jasmine and no longer is she Indian, but now she's straight up British because of the history of the Raj, oh, they'd lose their collective shit. They would absolutely fucking lose it. And they would be bitter and constantly screaming on the internet and having hissy fits to no end until that studio submits to their will and gives them exactly what they demand. They're the exact same people who do that and have already done that with other things. They're the same people who are out here being so bitter towards the studio, the casting directors, and Scarlett Johansson with that whole role where she was going to play a transgendered woman because she's straight cisgendered white woman. And that's just so unfair. That's so wrong. It's so evil. Same people. Same people got bitter about that. If it was the other way around and it was a straight character that is being played by a cisgendered person, and say a lot of straight people would get of it, then suddenly it's super fucking sexist and homophobic. You know for a fact they'd be like that. But, and it's totally okay, therefore it's great. In fact, they applaud it. But when it's reversed like that, they lose their fucking shit. And somehow it's not sexist. It's not, arrogant. It's not any of this other stuff. No. None of that applies to them because they give themselves the specific exceptions to themselves. Non-fucking stop. How are you not supposed to be angered by that? And hate those kind of people? You're not supposed to hate anybody. That hatred is a bad thing because hate is easily consumes you. And I personally get that 100%. But it's one of the most... God, what's with the sirens? One of the most intense struggles in my life to learn not to come to hate certain groups of people, like hypersensitive nitwits and SJWs, like that, like what I just explained. So yeah, they're the exact same people that do that, and that's the audience that Disney's catering to with Phase 4. The reason why I bring up the historical things and the fact that so far it's almost exclusively Disney films that Disney has altered to be PC. So suddenly, characters that were always one way, they've changed. Including when they tried to do that with Mulan, and they tried to do it with something else, and the hypersensitive SJWs went fucking apeshit and ballistic as hell on them for it. Because, well, it wasn't changing a white cisgendered, another straight character into a gay character or something, or a black woman. No! Oh, God, no. It was the reverse of that. They were trying to change an Asian woman into a white woman, or an Asian woman into, I don't know, a Arabian woman. It's like good for you, or any of the above. When it's the reverse, they lose their shit, and they apply all the exceptions to themselves. But as soon as it's not that, well, you get the idea. Again, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because with Phase 4. The main one that irks me the most is Thor. They're gonna change Thor to no longer is it gonna be a man, but for some fucked up reason it's gonna be a woman? I get it. It's fanciful. It's fanciful, or however you say that word. It's fantasy. It's not real. It's fiction. we get, I get that. We all get that. So obviously it's not going to have much, if any, ties to reality. However, there is just enough reality in each of these things that they do in the Marvel Universe, especially in live action, that it still doesn't make a fucking bit of sense. Because if you have as much realism as they do in it, which is about roughly, I'd say, half, so 50% realism, really well blended together with the fictionality of it. One of the main things is the background of Thor. They alter some of his powers, they alter some of his overall abilities and traveling and all this other stuff. Instead of just staying in Asgard his entire life, he actually goes everywhere else. But they still have a more than 50%, I'd say, connection and basis straight off of the actual Thor out of Norse mythology. And so, at no point in any point in history with Norse mythology did Thor suddenly become somehow a fucking woman. Maybe even literally fucking woman. I don't know. But either way, he never became a woman or a fucking woman. Like, I'm sorry. He just never has done that before. So, why are you suddenly now deciding to change? Oh, fuck, right, that's right. Because you'd probably end up having the entire internet come down against you with their hypersensitivity getting livid and deciding to cancel unless you do what they say and continue with making him a woman because, toxic masculinity and all that shit. And of course, natural. Like, what the fuck? Why do you have to be PC to such a massive extent? You're going to completely fucking screw over this entire franchise, let alone this entire character, and any realism you ever had with it. So we're now what? You're going to go 100% fictional? Is he going to turn from a fucking woman and then reveal, I'm actually a lizard person? I've been a lizard person all along. Bound to me, I have been the one who's been controlling you all, your entire existence. I'm the one who allowed you to find the gold, but we actually hold most of the gold up in our spaceship. Like, what the fuck? We also have deposits of platinum, which is far more rare and far more actually expensive and worth it. Has a far higher worth than gold and diamond combined. It is stored in the basin we have inside of the core of your Earth. Like, great, good job, Thor. You're suddenly a lizard person. Good, fuck yeah. Lizard person rights matter too, or lives matter too. Good, yay. SJW. Like, what the fuck? Like, at this point, why not? Suddenly it's gonna be, oh, he's not just a woman. He's gonna suddenly be, now, Thor's gonna suddenly be a woman who's then comes out as lesbian. And then from lesbian, oh, that's not all. She's autistic. Gotta give the disabled community representation. Or no, she has MS. But she's still so strong and so capable and so powerful and agile. And she's able to, be so powerful mentally to be able to just figure out how to adapt to having MS, a really severe case of it, and maybe even lupus, and just like fucking use her fucking hammer or something, better than Thor ever originally did because she's a woman with a disability. Oh, and yeah, that's not just all. She's a lesbian. Go SJWs, go PC nature. Woo! I would not be surprised if at some point some corporation did that. It would be better if they did that to take a shot at that community and say, fuck you guys. And just make it as cheesy and over the top, dumb, and insulting as possible. To be like, oh, we gave you what you wanted, but at the same time, even though it's exactly what you wanted, oh, we give you a hell of a lot more. How do you like them? Because we ain't gonna change it. Fuck you. That would be ultimate. But probably won't happen. But I could definitely see that happening in the near future, where not just, oh, now it's everything, every character has to be a powerful, strong, independent, lesbian female or queer female. No. Now she has to be disabled some way. To give that group representation to be properly PC. She suffers with extreme anxiety and depression. It's crippling. But she's so strong. She knows how to battle right through it. And she doesn't. She conquers it in the world. And all those evil, patriarchal, toxic, masculine males. Ugh. And of course, she's coming all the awards. You know, like, I hope they do due diligence. I hope Takeshi absolutely fucking nails it with this. But I'm going to have a feeling that this time he's not going to have remotely as much freedom as he did with, for some reason I'm not remembering the name of it, but the latest Thor movie that he directed. That was fantastic. Much more of a comedy. But yeah, I'll almost 100% guarantee you he's going to be given almost no freedom this time. Like, in comparison, that is. Almost no freedom. The freedoms he'll be given are probably going to be, again, just, you have ultimate freedom as long as it's PC. And if it's these specific requirements, parameters, and prerequisites. Otherwise, you're fired. Good job. That would mean, of course, the movie's going to fucking suck. But I hope he actually blows it out of the water, blows the expectation out of the water, and actually makes it at least enjoyable, even though you already know they're going to have a hell of a lot of cliche, politically correct, female empowerment, specialties thrown in everywhere throughout the story. I hope they absolutely knock it out of the park, or he absolutely knocks it out of the park and makes it into a beauty. But he's just the director, not the writer, so damn it. Oh, we'll see what happens. I'm one of those people who, like, I was doing that with Doctor Who beforehand, and I got so fucking disappointed. I was super hyped about it. I was actually fucking excited to have a change. It's not that drastic if you're just simply changing gender, and also when it comes down to the whole basis of Doctor Who, it actually, to me, made relative amount of sense that could potentially happen. Whether it's as a mistake, a glitch, something, it could happen. Definitely. Like, there's nothing in there that was ever written that excluded a possibility of somehow changing into a woman as a regeneration. Like, that was never in. So it always left the door open for that. And I was actually really fucking excited for it. Of course, if you watch that episode, and I do recommend you do, it killed me inside because it was so horribly written. It was so horribly written. And it was so horribly directed, and everything that is Doctor Who and that makes Doctor Who was torn completely out of the series, and it's just not even close to actual Doctor Who. It's literally, and I mean this sincerely when I say this, and I keep using this analogy, this comparison, it's so similar to the Magic School Bus. And I mean that. The Magic motherfucking school bus. It's so similar to that. That and, like, Barney and Friends and Sesame Street. Like, it's written at that, like, kindergarten, preschool to kindergarten to, like, maybe at latest second grade, but probably more like for, preschool through first grade audience base. It feels like literally they're talking to you and the dialogue is indirectly being like, hey kids, wanna play? Well, first you gotta do your chores, and then you gotta do your homework, and you gotta complete it. And then not only that, but you gotta make sure you eat a nice, nutritious carrot and peanut butter snack, and then you gotta drink plenty of water, and then we can play. How about that? Sound like fun, kiddies? That's literally the level it's written at and directed at. That's what little character development's there and character arcs, again, same thing. It's written at that level. And it's so painful. So painful. Especially as somebody who actually prides himself on being much more of a writer than a reader. It absolutely fucking kills me. Because you take such an amazing, great series that's always been so easy to you just get engulfed and encompassed by the entire thing, and like the entire world around you disappears, and it's just Doctor Who. You're in that world practically, and it feels so right and so good and so fulfilling. It's just absolutely epic. And they completely took that out and fucking sadistically, slowly killed it in pain. And then recorded its screams as they just slowly dismembered and severed and sliced and diced and stabbed and poked and prodded it while it was still alive, fighting to cling to life desperately pleading for them to stop, and they just kept going until it finally died. And they're like, you know what, let's mutilate this further first before we continue, and then go on to something else. That's basically what they did with Doctor Who, and it killed me inside. But what they're doing with this, because with Doctor Who, they don't have almost any time travel. They have almost nothing in anywhere else in any other universe, dimension, space, time, anything. It's almost always in our current real world. Either it's modern day or it's somewhere nearish modern day, like somewhere between, the 1990s through like maybe at latest so far, or at earliest so far rather in time, like 1910s, I think. Or no, yeah. 1920s or 1910s was like the earliest. It's this really tiny little period of time, but it's always focused right here in the real world. And on real world events, they have no alterations to it either. And they always have the modern day PC movement and perspective and beliefs and everything that they auto apply to it with the characters and the writings and even developments of the scenarios into each and every episode that takes place somewhere between 1990 and 1910 or 20 in our real world. That's it. That's all they do. And they apply that modern day mindset to these older situations, like racism is bad. Trump is a racist, prejudiced, bigoted piece of shit. He shouldn't be supported. Oh, by the way, yeah, because you're also obviously like a 1-year-old with a mental retardation issue, we know that's going to be hard to understand besides those other things we just taught you. But, oh, yeah, just simply being an asshole is not right. You shouldn't do that. Oh, also, you shouldn't have, slavery was horrible. Oh, and racism's horrible. And, oh, yeah, women, they're fucking powerful shit, dude. Like, yeah, pretty much anybody who is living that's had a fucking botched-ass lobotomy, and I kid you not, would be able to fully understand that. And know, yeah, obviously. What the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to be writing this for an audience of like preschoolers, you motherfuckers. And it's not supposed to be non-fiction. It's supposed to be almost purely fiction. And anytime they touch on a historical event and try to make a point, they do it really fucking subtly. And they do it not just super subtly, they do it with a lot of satire. So a lot of humor. They don't take themselves seriously. That's one of the best parts of Doctor Who. And they completely fucking slaughtered it in cold blood sadistically just because they got some shits and giggles out of it. It's like, what the fuck? That's what Phase 4 of Marvel Cinematic Universe, so Disney, is all fucking about. It's all about that. Absolutely kills me inside. Absolutely. I'm actually really surprised to have found out that Deadpool, the rights to Deadpool, were actually not owned by Sony, as so many people actually originally believed and still believe. Especially considering when they found out about Sony and Disney not coming to an agreement on Spiderman, and so Spiderman went fully back to to Sony again. Everybody was immediately having kind of almost the same mindset as I did, which was, we gotta ask both directly to Tom Holland and specifically Ryan Reynolds, please, can we finally fucking have an actual full movie, at least one full movie crossover between Spider-Man and Deadpool? Please, let it finally fucking happen. It has to happen. It's never happened. You need to make it happen now. And he actually spoke about that and addressed it in such a specific way, which was pretty much almost anybody out there would understand it as, oh yeah, it is. Deadpool is 100% a Sony-owned thing. But that's misleading. So that's why so many people still believe it's a Sony product. It's not. It actually was originally owned by Fox, but Fox, everything of Fox except for Fox Business and Fox News and Fox Sports got bought out by Disney. Everything else of Fox got bought out. So Fox Searchlight, all of the 21st Century Fox got bought out, everything. So everything movie and TV show productions anything of that sort, so entertainment, was purchased by Disney World. So Disney World now owns them and has for a few years now, which means guess who actually owns the right to Deadpool? Disney's owned it for a while. So it's actually Disney who, under their Fox brand, has been producing Deadpool, both 1 and 2. So that really deeply confuses me because of all the things doing, especially with MCU 4, Phase 4, how the fuck are they willing to keep Deadpool going and let Deadpool be what has Deadpool's always been, especially R-rated, rather than being over here and being so PC with everything else? It's so wild to me. But yeah, so that kind of kills the hope that I had and so many other people did of a Spiderman Deadpool crossover movie. And honestly, if Sony did actually own Deadpool, which would be perfect for them right now, there would have been no possibly better option, an opportunity, than right fucking now, in the midst of all the controversy and everything that both sides are getting and shit. No better timing, opportunity, and, situation to then seize and immediately start working on a Deadpool Spider-Man crossover movie, to where they're both starring in the movie. No more better opportunity and perfect time than now. And when I was thinking, hey, Sony owns the rights to Deadpool too, oh, this is perfect, that's exactly what I was talking about. And that's exactly what I was thinking, is like, I wanted to make a podcast right then, is like, just because I wanted to address that part of it and be like, dude, Sony, seriously, you don't be dumb. Don't be anxious or worried about, oh god, but we don't want to make this R-rated Spider-Man. We want that to always be our family-friendly, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man thing. Because the most intelligent thing that Sony could have done, if that was the case, is say, fuck it. Fuck it. At least for just one movie, fuck it. We'll make an R-rated Spider-Man. And then, if we decide that was it, that's all she wrote for a crossover, then you can immediately just go back to being regular friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, family friendly, all over again immediately thereafter with another Spider-Man movie and Deadpool movie. And literally it would be even more impeccable and advantageous to then also, with those next movies after the crossover with them, just act like that never fucking happened. Make them literally, the entire universe of both of them, act like they've never, they don't know what the heck anybody could be possibly thinking or talking about. Like, and just make it into one big joke. The entire movie is like, what? We don't know what you're talking about, man. We never had it. We never hung out. What are you talking about? Like, totally perfect. Right up the alley of both of them. But unfortunately, it turns out Disney owns the rights to Deadpool. And Deadpool has never really been tried to be bound into the MCU, because Deadpool is actually associated with X-Men, and Sony owns the rights to everything X-Men. So that's always fun. So now what, basically? It's one of those questions of like, now what? Now what the fuck happens? Because all Sony's missing is the rights to Deadpool. That is literally it. And they would have the ability to produce great, proper X-Men things. They would have the great, proper ability to produce a crossover between Spider-Man's and X-Men along with Spider-Man and Deadpool. But no, Disney has to have hatchet in the party, as usual. Always have to throw their hatchet in there. Get it stuck in the gears, and then act like, we don't know what? We don't know what you're talking about. We never threw a hatchet. We don't. It's all their fault. They're the ones who threw the hatchet into their own gears. Jeez, so I don't. We're Disney. We would never do such a thing. We would never do such a thing. We're PC only. We do only the right things. Okay. Sony's the one who does all the wrong things. It's all of them. They threw their hatchet inside of their own gears and then blamed us. But no, they're the problem. As they've always done with every other company ever, especially lately with, again, that same situation. I'm not coming to an agreement because, Sony is saying, no, goodbye. just walking out the door and be like, we're not going to negotiate any further on this. When Disney's like, oh, by the way, we get to own half the rights to Spider-Man. And we get half the revenues from all movies, merchandise, and everything else, instead of you. How's that sound? Like a lot of other people saying, are you fucking serious? Like, Disney, you actually fucking thought that was intelligent. You thought that was workable? You thought that was even remotely a good idea to offer that to Sony? You're absolute fucking idiots. And man, does it ever show your arrogance. Like, Jesus Christ. And so, if anything, I think actually Sony ends up in the better position. And and Spider-Man ends up in a lot better situation as well with Sony. Especially if Sony can be calculated enough and just get the right teams and chemistry going and actually finally figure this shit out for once and really kill it. That would be great. But, and I kind of have a decent belief in Sony now. Like, like a lot of the people are like, they're there. They produce some good movies, but I don't know. Especially when it comes down to the superhero franchises they own, it doesn't seem like they do too great with any of them. And they don't really do great. They do better than a lot of people give them credit for, but they still don't do as good as they should and could. But I think with this experience under their belt, including the whole falling out with Disney yet again, predictably, I actually have no doubt in my mind that they're actually going to really blossom from this with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man as well. They're actually going to be able to do something really good. The one awkward thing about it, though, is that Disney was being arrogant as they are, and then saying, well, 50% rights, 50% revenue of everything, 50% rights to everything. How does that sound, little old Sony? Sony was going to say, basically, fuck you in the most polite way possible, basically outdoing Canadians in the way they indirectly are basically like, here's 2 middle fingers up your ass. Since you already have a bunch of rebar that's rusted up your ass, too, that you voluntarily shoved as deep as you could. Here, have our 2 middle fingers in there too. You ought to enjoy that. And we'll see you maybe never. It's really smart to do that. But yeah, that's what Sony and everybody else should have seen coming, because that's why Disney was pushing Spider-Man so deeply into the MCU and entangling it so heavily, especially with Endgame, because they thought that would put enough pressure on Sony, no doubt, to give in to their pressuring of that 50-50 thing and be like, sure, okay, yeah. Why not? Because they knew it would be intimidating to not come to a deal, take full rights and everything back to themselves, and be like, fuck, what are we supposed to do now? Because how the fuck is this storyline for him supposed to go now? And the character development, like, what the fuck? Because they intertwined it so deeply into the Disney's, Marvel universe, that now, how do you differentiate? How do you tactfully and skillfully pull back away from the whole entanglement into the cinematic universe with Disney without almost mandatorily having to work a new deal with Disney so that you can at least work him back out of it again? Especially considering Disney went so fucking far off the arrogance peak with it by being like, hey, you know what we should do for Endgame? We should make Spider-Man the new Tony Stark and lead the new Avengers. How's that? That's great. He's going to be a leader of the cinematic universe now. Because they knew that would also add a lot more pressure to Sony, again, for the same kind of reasons. Plus, they knew it would probably make fans feel hopeless and bitter. And, mainly feel hopeless about ever watching another Spider-Man thing, because they don't even though it's imaginative of us, can't seem to figure out how the fuck they're going to skillfully and tactfully do that without striking another deal with Disney. And that's exactly what the point of everything that Disney did. That was entirely their point. That was entirely what it was. And that's why they had the audacity to go out of their way to say, hey, 50-50 on everything. Because they were so fucking arrogantly cocky in their own scheme that they actually thought that worked. They thought it worked before they even talked to Sony about it and tried to gauge if it really was working or not. And Sony obviously didn't really feel much pressure. even through all of that. Obviously, shows that the Sony executives have a hell of a lot of confidence in their own crews and their own staff, their own writers, and everybody else to be able to figure something out and do it well enough after learning everything they did that we can fucking do this and we can pull this off. Even though nobody has any beliefs in us, we have beliefs in our own staff. They can fucking do this. Just the world has to wait to see it, because they're gonna sit there and they're gonna watch and they're gonna be in fucking shock that our team of writers and directors and producers are that fucking good. And I hope that obviously that's the case. So I hope that they're right, and I hope that they can show that they learn from their mistakes and they learn from this success, and they are going to be able to then, learn even more from this experience of like, well, Sony thinks that they completely fucked us and that we'll never be able to succeed without them now. So that's great. So they'll come running back to us in no time. But Sony is the opposite stance. They're like, no, we believe in our fucking staff. We know we can absolutely kill this. We've learned, we've grown, we know how to deal with this, So we'll see what happens. I hope that actually works out really well. So, yeah, that would be interesting. But it will also be interesting now that Sony owns them if they ever dare to try to bind any bit of the X-Men franchise with the Spider-Man franchise or vice versa. Because that would create a really unique situation in universe, and I think that's probably one of the least likely crossovers, I think, for a lot of people of the universe, fans of the universe or anything associated with X-Men or Spider-Man or the Marvel universe or Deadpool for that matter. Since I guess he's not really a part of that because he is actually a part of the X-Men, but then he's also not because he's owned by Disney and not by Sony, and Sony owns X-Men, so that is a whole clusterfuck as well. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be weird for sure. But we'll see what happens. I hope it turns out well. But back to the whole MCU Phase 4. As I keep saying, I have virtually no hope for it. I do definitely hope that it does smack me upside the head and be like, wow, this is actually really fucking good. But I don't trust in it. Especially considering, I said screw my intuition, screw my gut instinct, and also my basic knowledge of this big corporations and how the world works right now with them, especially media production, and that this really is just a PC move, like everybody's saying, and it is going to be shit. They were right about Doctor Who, and I got fucking decimated by that because that was not what I was expecting. I was expecting so much more, and I was expecting them to defy all that expectation of it's just going to be PC bullshit. And they actually absolutely fucking kill it. And Jodie just absolutely killed it as the Doctor. But no. Absolutely the fucking... what everybody said it would be. Which kills me. It absolutely killed any hopes I had for... hopes I have for Phase 4 of MCU. Because I already have the intuition. I already have the knowing and the knowledge and the awareness of everything and the situation and stuff accrued to know really what that was all about. And deep down inside, I think I kind of had a belief that it would turn out that way, but it was just this whole exercise I did where I ended up making myself have at least, like I say, 60% belief that they were gonna not go PC with it, and they did, and it killed me. And so it killed any chances that I really have to trust myself or trust any hope for any other things, like in this case Phase 4 of MCU, to be any good. I hope that even though it's already so far the entire time but shown that it's going to be a total fucking mimic to Doctor Who and BBC right now, I hope that somehow they manage to defy themselves, which is what they have to do in order to not make it so fucking PC. But we'll see what happens. And yeah, pretty much everything suddenly turned male. Sorry, not male, female from male. And everything's turned into these cliches and PC expectations being met and everything else. So now there's gonna be gay characters and lesbian characters, probably queer and transgendered or questioning characters, asexuals, trans. They're gonna have those relationships in there. They're probably gonna have people with disabilities, especially again the main two right now are anxiety and depression. As somebody who has anxiety spectrum, I fucking hate that exploitation because that's all it really is. They're just exploiting it for the money, for the attention, and for these really fair weather temporary fans. They're not really fans. They're just part of, the collective society at large. So the majority of people out there that are hypersensitive SJW nitwits who just want what they want, and then eventually society is going to adapt and it's going to change again its beliefs and views, and then suddenly, they're going to be expecting that, and and it's just, it's so sad to watch. Like, hey, wherever we move, you have to move with us, or we're going to fucking ruin your life and your company, your career. And they just are like, okay, sure, yeah, we'll move with you. No problem. No problem. We're not scared. What are you talking about? We just want our money. Sad days. Anyway, yes, this is definitely much more of a podcast because it's just kicked back, chill, spewing and ranting about this stuff. So, I hope they do blow expectations out of the water. They don't go purely PC or mostly PC. Not even half PC. I hope they go like maybe a quarter of the way PC. Since they're going to go PC. I hope they going like a quarter at most of the way, at max. And then the rest of it's still really good. But do I trust that? No, I do not trust Disney in the slightest when it comes down to that stuff. But I digress. We'll see what happens. So yeah, you could say, oh, you were supposed to be talking about the MC Phase 4. Yeah, I that was like I'd say that was like that was the spine of the basis for what I was speaking on. But I was actually speaking of just this stuff in general. So I wasn't really going to go in depth into that spinal column of today's episode. I was just going to touch on it generally and here and there, and then make the little spurs off and branches and then reconnect them back to show you how that is all correlated, and then we end up going to the middle where it ends. You think the analogy would be that you'd go from one end to the other and then that would be the end, but no, for me, I see it as you're branching from one end and then another end, and then you keep setting the branches slowly more and more towards the middle until they all curve and then meet eventually along the spine further inward towards the middle, and then the last branches converge on the center of the spine. Because for me, the middle makes the most sense to end because of the branching. If I didn't branch all the time like I do, like this branch, this, that's that, and then correlate it, and then show you how it correlates, and by bringing it back in and continue reattaching it further in towards the middle, that's just, to me, makes the most sense for how it would work for me. So that's why my endings aren't like the typical thing that you think that analogy would be, which is the ends. It's actually the middle that's the end, but I digress. Anyway, I made a pretty little spinal basket. Wouldn't you like to try one? It holds a lot of baggage and family issue. I have issues. Anyway, I don't know where that was going. Let's just ride this waterfall down into a chasm of void. A chasm of void. I'm gonna shut myself up, and then I'm gonna end this, and then I'm gonna take myself out back of the property, and I'm gonna shoot myself. Excuse me. It's time. It must be done. So I hope to see you in the next episode, and or the next video, or in one of my other videos. I don't care, or never see you again. I mean, whatever, man. It's your prerogative. Stay rad. Stay safe, or stay dangerous, I don't know. I mean, it's your prerogative. Get arrested, or shoot a kid. I mean, it's your choice. Punch a kitten. Lick a stick. I don't know. Really, it's your life. You can do what you want. And, yeah. I'll hope to see you some other day. Bye-bye, everybody. God, I'm going to shoot myself.